Hi guys, so I'm Mosoti Norman, and for this particular episode of Artistic Minds, I'm a poet. I'm a poet, I'm a writer, I'm just a guy who likes to have fun within the artistic space. I'm a heavy consumer of art in Kenya in general, so my journey as an artist started in class 4 actually. I remember with Mr. Salim. Mr. Salim was my English teacher back in some small academy in Kisii, some place called Kiombo. Yeah, he was the first guy to ever give me a poem. I think I used to be the loudest guy in the class who makes funny jokes. Noisemakers, number 1, Apple Jew, and Luka times 10, and the like. So when he saw that, I said, this guy can perform a poem in front of people. And that was the first time I actually interacted with poetry and performed it in front of a live audience. So yeah, from that point, obviously, I was given more poems, performed in AGMs and the likes, until class 5, I moved to a different school. And in that school, that's when I decided, since I didn't have Mr. Salim to continue writing for me these poems and the likes, I decided to try writing myself. So the one thing I did, I became a rapper. Yeah, I was a rapper back in primary school. I don't know if I was that good, but people used to cheer it, so I think I was good. Yeah, so I did rap, and that is the type of art I did from that point, from class 5 all the way until Form 3 in high school. Yeah, so you can say for a little portion of my life, I was a rapper. I don't have anything recorded, but whatever the rapper in me can still be felt in whatever poetry I usually write. So in Form 3, I remember it was Talent Day. Obviously, I was rapping. Obviously, I won. Not to brag, but yeah. So I won that. But there was a guest artist who came to our school. He's called Dan Mongi, number 8. Who's a poet, a really great spoken word artist. He came, performed spoken word, and I was like, okay, what is this? I had heard of rap, I had heard of poetry, but I had never heard of both of them merging into one. I knew one was derivative of the other because rap generally is poetry done within a certain rhythm, but I had never heard someone do a slightly slowed version of that, like poetry. So it was weird and I wanted to do that. So that's when I started slowing down whatever rap I was doing, or performing the verses that I had written for rap as poems. So that was the beginning of me becoming a poet. So eventually I did forget how to rap. Says you can be an a rap song. I don't know how I'll start. I've tried a couple of times and nimeshindwa, but anyway, uni life, but now I'm a good poet. I'm a really good performing poet. So also throughout high school, from I think class 7, I used to participate in drama festivals. So I used to both drama festival and music festival. So I used to be an actor and I used to perform poetry. Singing ilikata kidogo. I remember one of my teachers for music, alisema wewe Norman, ndio tupate key yako, we'll have to invent a whole new keyboard, which was mean. But anyway, that was the last time I ever tried to sing. That was in class 6 actually, Mr. Musod, so that was really mean. Nakumbuka majina za kila mtu, which is okay. So yeah, I used to do that. So I think the fact that I was in drama also enhanced the fact that I was a performance artist, because I could relay the emotions that I have written clearer or better through that. So I finished high school, and for 1 year, for the year after high school, I decided to try in art spaces. So I performed in different art spaces. There was a show called Poetry Sports that happened at All Saints Cathedral. There's a show that used to happen at St. Andrews. There was Fatuma's Voice. There was Slam Africa and the like. So I performed in those spaces for the 1 year that I was out of high school and before I joined campus. So yeah, so I did that for a while. It was fun. It was amazing. In 2015, right a month before I joined actually in the campus, I won Slam Africa. I had tried Slam Africa a few times before that. Lost terribly. Improved my work. Had it to a point when I competed and I won, which was amazing. And I think that was the first time I actually was paid for an event. So apparently that whole year before that, I used to perform and I never used to get money. Years later, I came to realize actually people were getting paid. Just, you had to know someone for you to get paid for those particular shows. Pesa ilikuwa inakuja, watu walikuwa wanaficha pesa kwa mifuko yao, which is a whole other story in the poetry industry. How much money imekuwa lost because of organizers not actually getting the money to, the performing artists, the people who create. So yeah, that was fun. I won Slam Africa. I was the 55th Slam champion, I think, which was impeccable. And after that, I think is when I started being recognized as a poet. So another thing, now as a writer, after high school, I used to do nearly everything in English. So that was up until I won Slam Africa, when I realized, okay, now I have achieved something, and I didn't want my poetry to continue sounding the same, because I used to write stories, but in poetry fashion. I think I used to call them ballads, because ballads are stories that are told through songs or poems. So I used to do that. And then I realized, you know what, I've done that, I've won something, now let me try to, recreate myself. So that's when I started trying with Swahili. So the first thing I remember, it was the first time I wrote a Swahili poem was when I was challenged by a friend of mine called African Kodo, Clyde. Aliniambia, Johnny Norman, Kiswahili chako ni kizuri, but you never write in Swahili. So to find the challenge, the next show, it was Anika. There was an event that used to happen where people would discuss societal issues and politics and things like those. There was a discussion and there were a bit of performances in between. So he told me, you know what, Norman, for the next edition, since we are both featured, we can try and write something in Swahili. So that was the first time I actually tried writing something in Swahili. It took me like a month to write that, but the outcome was actually good. People said they had never heard that from me, or at least that kind of poetry, because changing from the English to Swahili, I realized I couldn't write stories as well as I used to do it whenever I wrote poetry in English. So that's when I started doing it in Swahili, and I didn't write stories, I just wrote poems. And I realized whenever I wrote something that is not a story, most of my content was not political, it was more based on mental health and the likes, and basically philosophies of life in general. So it was weird poetry, abstract in nature, and yeah, I loved that. I loved that part of me. So the same way I forgot how to rap, the same way I forgot how to write poems in English. And right now, if you tell me to write something in English, I can write it, but it will take me a longer time, and I won't enjoy performing it as much as I do like performing things that are written in Swahili, or a mixture of both Swahili and a few words in English. Yeah, so also I realized whenever I perform in Swahili, it actually reaches a larger whenever I perform in a mix of Swahili and English, it reaches a larger demography than it's used to reach when I used to perform in English. And whenever I do it in Swahili, I tend to reduce the audience to become even smaller, which, I don't know, it just sucks. Yeah, but it was nice, and it's something that I love doing. Yeah, so another thing that changed along the way is when I graduated. So I eventually graduated. I'm a graduate quantity surveyor, working and all. So when I graduated, I realized I didn't have enough time. No one had, okay, we generally don't have enough time as humans. We have to sleep a number of hours, we have to go make money a number of hours. So when you're trying to be a jack of all trades, because as a quantity surveyor, I realized I actually like being a quantity surveyor. It's something that I'm not exactly passionate about, but I'm really good at it, and it makes me money as compared to poetry, because I did try throughout my campus life. I used to perform at events, I used to get paid, but it was not enough money to be sustainable. Not to say that being a poet and performing is not sustainable, because I have a lot of friends who generally make money through their craft, and which is good, but it's something that I tried to make a living out of, but it wasn't money that ningesema acha nihame home niende ni rent place, najua every month I'll have rent, I'll have things like that, because you'll go like 2 months without a show, then you'll get a month where you have so many shows together, so it's not dependable money. So when I got this job, I got dependable money, I looked at what I was doing, and since I didn't have enough time, I decided, I did not quit poetry. I know that sounds like what I was going to say, but what I did is, now I consume and I make art for fun. I don't try it with the intention, siendiki nikijua like Norman next week niko na gig. Next week sijuangi niko na gig unless someone tells me, Norman, you're going to perform at this event, so you can write something about it. That's when I'll actually make an effort. So nowadays I just write, alafu nakaa nazo during the mind, alafu if I get an opportunity or whenever I feel comfortable enough to perform them, I do. Weirdly, it's a lot more than back when I used to look for events, because right now, when I used to look for events, I never used to perform at all spaces, because nilikuwa nataka kitu na nilipa. Unacheki, unakuja unatafuta do, or like hii show hailipi, it's a free show, I can't share my content for free because people need to pay for this. But nowadays, I can go to an event, an open mic, and I'm like, you know what, I can perform at this because I don't get any other chances besides that, which is also okay, because I mean, ni sanaa na nataka kushare, and it's my craft, and that's the only way I can put it out. So yeah, so that's how, yeah, that's where I'm at the moment. Another thing to note is, besides being a poet, I'm also a writer. Granted, I'm not published as much, not published per se, but there's some works of mine that are published. Say I wrote for one of the editions for 12 Birds. That was supposed to happen last year, 12 Birds, the Beats edition. I wrote for it. Corona happened a month before the show, which sucks because whatever we had wrote was amazing. I worked with a really great team of artists, the likes of Kina Ngatia, Kina Kagishu, Kina Abu Sense, who are poets, who are writers, who do really great work. We have Murage, I don't know, we were a lot of us in a small room where we just sat. We were given topics, we researched about them. We were given already previously researched work. We read through and we wrote amazing stuff, but COVID happened, and now we don't know when the show is going to happen, because it's 12 Birds is generally a big show, so it will invite a lot of people, and that is not a good thing to have, especially when we have this virus going around. So yeah, that happened. So I'm also a writer in that regards. Currently, I'm trying to write a small sci-fi novel based in Nairobi, and I'm hoping that will also, because as a writer I've written a lot of stuff, but most of it at the moment belongs beneath my pillow. I have a few works that go on my Instagram, I have a few works that go on my WordPress. I'm not sure if it's still active. Nilisikia after a while your WordPress kama update vitu ama there is no interaction, it actually gets pulled down or kitu kama hiyo. There is a little bit of work on Medium under, I think, _man who knows, which is a play of my name. I'm Norman, so the man who knows Norman. Okay, it's a funny thing that I came up with when I started as an artist. Yeah, so there's a few of my works scattered throughout. So a few of them are on Instagram, on YouTube. On Instagram, I'm mosotigathogo. It's not clear that this is a piece, but beneath posts of mine, there's always the captions are usually poems of mine. And if you look at IGTV, there are a few pieces that were recorded, live performances. One was when I was in some interview on TV station. I think it's called TV47, and the other was live. I had a show called, I was one of the featured poets in Poets You Should Know, which was a monthly open mic show that used to happen at museums of Kenya. So yeah, I used to do that. So there was a recording that was done of me performing there that is also on my Instagram page. My YouTube page is Mosoti Norman, I think, and Mosoti Norman, yes. And there's one piece there. There are other pieces that are featured in other people's YouTube pages. Yeah, so you can go find my work. I'm still here to create one concise place where you can get all my work. But I think if you go to my Instagram, there's a tap link. There's a tap link that you can click on and get everything of mine, or at least these small links that I'm mentioning at the moment. Yeah, so that was nice. Me being featured for that, me writing for Too Early for Birds. Currently working on that sci-fi novel, hoping that it will be published, and I'm hoping you guys will buy, because lazima tuomoke one way or another, and hoping some big guy in Hollywood, or not Hollywood, in Kenya, watafute pesa, we just crowdfund, we make a movie out of this, which will be nice. So my inspiration for my writing, before I started writing more abstract work, I used to get inspiration from stories, because stories or life experiences and stuff like that. Let's say one of my most formidable pieces, or pieces that people remember me most with, the one that I won the Slam Africa with, was one. It was just simple. It was a description of a boxing match, 3 rounds between 2 people, and that was it. Highly detailed. It had rhymes in it. It had punchlines, because it was a boxing piece, get it? Yeah, but it had punchlines, it had all this in it, and that's what I want. So that was the basis. I used to read highly descriptive work, and then I'd try use that kind of description in my pieces, because it's something that, it used to be something, I just take a small scene, like let's say a robbery scene, that will happen within 2 minutes. Or 3 minutes, and I describe it detailed, with great detail and in poetry form. So that's what I used to do, which I probably should continue doing that, because saying it out loud right now makes me think that I used to be interesting back then, and right now most people can't understand what I'm actually saying, which is weird. But anyway, it's life, and we grow sometimes forwards, and at this moment I grow backwards, get that, we move forward with it. Yeah, so that was the inspiration. Nowadays, my inspiration greatly comes from just thoughts that I get, because I think a lot, which is weird, because a lot of things happen in my life, a lot of things are happening to people in my life. So whenever I sit down to think, I usually try to break down and see the reason, the cause behind what is happening generally in this country, in people's life, and understand it. And whenever I'm writing, it's never usually, I never just sit down and say, Norman, this dark thing. I usually just have an inspiration, let's say as phrase, and I start writing, and from that I realize I'm breaking down a certain thing that I've been thinking about for this whole time, but it's like putting my thoughts into words. Something that even myself, before writing it down, I didn't fully understand what it was. So it's sort of revealing, and also it's to scratch an itch, because normally whenever I get an idea or whenever I have something disturbing me, I usually need to have a way of putting it out there. So it's like scratching an itch. I have to write it. I have to do something. So that is how my abstract art comes out right now. So, but apparently some people actually understand it, because that's one of my biggest fear, that I might write something and people don't understand it, especially since I'm part of a group of artists who sit down in front of a camera, just like I'm doing right now, and critique other people's work. So tutakaa chini tuongea about venye hatuelewi someone's work, and yet whenever I put out my work, pia watu wengine hawaelewi. So I'm usually thinking, if people don't understand me, what merit do I have to sit down and actually criticize other people's work? Yeah, I think oh no, I don't think I know. The YouTube channel is called Sana Kosana. I do it with Sami Rauka, Roger, and Kodo, who I earlier mentioned. We sit down, we review albums, both, mostly it used to be rap albums, but nowadays we ventured into other forms of music. We have worldwide music, which is essentially what the likes of Papillon, the likes of Fadile Itulia, Sauti Sol do. So it's just a general, we review just music from Kenya. And we look at whatever they did well, whatever they did badly, whatever they can improve in, whatever blew our minds about it, in terms of production, the writing, and all. So yeah, that's one of the other things that I am involved in. As an artist in Kenya, kuna a lot of struggles we go through. First of all, there are the stereotypes. Personally, I don't have dreadlocks, yes, but most of my friends have dreadlocks, and I've seen on several occasions kuna hiyo stereotype ya huyu ni msanii so kuna dreadlocks, but dreadlocks ziko attached to a certain culture in Kenya. Yenye used to happen, it doesn't have to be the way, but since you have dreadlocks, you are judged. I have friends who've been stopped, ama they are frisked way more than they should, ama they are generally picked out of a crowd because they have dreadlocks and kuna hiyo stereotype, which I think is wrong, because artists tunavaa a certain way, which is, I don't know what happened, but once you become an artist, kuna a certain sense of fashion that all artists have, that you are deemed supposed to have, and that kind of fashion also has its implications, like I said, the dreadlocks and the likes. So there's that. There's also a lot of gatekeeping. Kuna people out here who think they own a certain form of art because either they do it better or they feel they do it better, ama they feel they've done it longer. So unapata kuna some spaces you can't be invited to, ama there's some spaces you can't perform because you are not part of that space, ama because someone doesn't want to allow you to perform in that space, which I find is also kind of restrictive, because as artists, especially as spoken word artists, this is an art form that is growing. Unapata a lot of us tunakuwa frustrated because kuna spaces we can't access, ama kuna art forms kuna some money that we can't access because kuna mtu fulani hataki tupate yodo. Also, there's the fact that the government really doesn't support our arts as much as it should. And that is being said from a person who has worked in the government for a while and knows that if the government wants to do something, it will do it. Ukiangalia projects like the expressway, affordable housing, and the likes, they set out to do them and they did it. Ukiangalia actually, in the art space, when they wanted to change from analog TVs to digital TV, ni kitu yenye ilisemwa na ikafanyika na kukakuwa na seamless transition. Okay, not seamless per se, kulikuwa na a lot of nini, but it was done. So if the government wants to uplift the arts, it's something that it will do. Also, the fact that in our education, though I feel like with the CBC, which I feel everyone is sort of, I don't know, making fun of, but it's something that wanna try to encourage, and I hope that as a project doesn't fail. So hakuna enough background, hakuna enough building for you to become an artist. Poetry, when you're taught it in school, unafunzwa ndio upite umalize. It's something that you don't sit down and have fun with. You're not allowed to have fun with the art spaces. Unapata, whenever there's a chance for art to grow, there's always something that inajaribu kuisukuma ikuwe ndogo irudishe, because kuna so much focus on the sciences, the languages, ama vitu kama hizo, things that are basically not artistic. What other challenge? Kuna a challenge of money in general. Kuna so little money going around, not because hakuna pesa out there, but because artists are selling themselves short. Unapata, people are accepting pocket change as payment, which is also understandable because without that pocket change, your artist angeenda kamelala njaa. Lakini kuna artists out there who are accepting pocket change who do not sign contracts and end up being stolen from, and yet your platform inafaa kuwapatia a lot more money than they are deserving. And also there is the consumer aspect of Kenyans. Kenyans, or at least mainstream Kenyans, they rarely consume art they don't know. They go back to the same artists, they go back to the same media per se. They don't experiment as much. So unapata, as a new artist, it's so hard to break through. That also comes with spoken word. As a new artist, ukifanya event, despite how much you market it, a lot of people might not come to your event, so you won't per se get that much money from your craft, which is also doesn't make sense. June Zapata, he's better or she is better than the artist mwenye akona more followers who has been doing it for a longer time, and I don't know, I feel it kind of sucks, but anyway, ni maisha, which is also another mentality we have in maisha, so we should change that also as Kenyans to improve on it somehow. Yeah, know what you deserve and go and get it. The mantra that I live with in life is, you don't have to do one thing. Personally, me, I want to branch out into doing, I had already said that we don't have enough time as human beings. 24 hours is not enough in a day. 7 days a week is not enough for, like 8 months, 16 days a week, the last 4 hours, and I feel like 27, 38 TV, which is okay, but I am a believer in being a jack of all trades. As I said, I'm a writer, I'm a poet. I used to be an actor, which I feel like it's something that I want to still go back in. I want to be a writer for movies. I want to be a director for movies. So I'm a QS. At the same time, I want to do a little bit about environmental impact assessment. I want to do a little bit about finance. I want to do a little bit about. So generally, I believe you don't have to be confined into doing one thing. You can do. It's not bad to do one thing, but I believe as humans we're not built to be static, to be an individual. The same way we live in a society is the same way we are supposed to do a lot of things to enable us interact better with everyone in life. So that is my mantra. Do everything. You don't have the time, but you can still do it. If you find a perfect balance, if I find a perfect balance, I definitely share the ways that I have, but just because you don't have enough time doesn't mean you can't try everything. So yeah, go out there, be a writer and a doctor and a farmer at the same time. Oh yeah, I want to try farming too. Kitunguu iko na pesa apparently, it's quite sure. Yeah, so yeah, do everything. It's fun. Life is short, and if you don't try everything, utakuwa reincarnated kose kwenda heaven. Ndio kuja umalize chenye ulikuwa umeletwa earth fun. Yeah. So